I'm Dr. Nathaniel Chin, and you're listening to Dementia Matters, a podcast about Alzheimer's disease. Dementia Matters is a production of the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Disease Research Center. Our goal is to educate listeners on the latest news in Alzheimer's disease research and caregiver strategies. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to Dementia Matters. This is a special episode because May is National Mediterranean Diet Month, an ideal time for us to revisit the MIND diet for healthy brain aging. The MIND diet stands for Mediterranean-Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay. It is a combination of the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet, and DASH stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. This MIND diet was created at Rush University Medical Center and is a result of a 4.5-year study through the National Institute of Aging that found people who ate more MIND diet foods had less risk of Alzheimer's disease. People who followed the diet moderately had a reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease by 35%, and those who followed it more closely had a reduced risk by 53%. These are pretty compelling numbers. As of May 4th of 2023, the NIA released another press release showing that another NIA-funded study published in Neurology suggests that perhaps these diets protect from the actual damage caused by Alzheimer's. And they found that people who followed the MIND diet and the Mediterranean diet had fewer signs of Alzheimer's disease changes in the brains of those participants. For those that are interested in understanding more about the MIND diet, I would encourage you to go way back to 2017, October 24th, where I interviewed Dr. Clare Morris, the creator of the MIND diet.
The Mediterranean diet and the DASH diets are both very well-rounded diets that have been vigorously tested and shown to be important for keeping one healthy, especially from cardiovascular conditions. So we modified the basic components of the Mediterranean and the DASH diet to incorporate the nutrients that we knew were important for the brain.
This episode will be in the show notes as well, as will the NIA press release that I've just mentioned. Now, the MIND diet really is a composite or a combination of 10 things to incorporate in your diet, as well as 5 things to limit or reduce. Now, the 10 things are green leafy vegetables, other vegetables, nuts, berries, beans, whole grains, fish, poultry, olive oil, and wine. Now, there is some compelling evidence that perhaps any amount of alcohol is not good for us. And I feel confident in saying I would not encourage someone to start drinking simply for their brain health. If you are interested in understanding more of some of this evidence, I would encourage you to look at the podcast on Thursday, June 2nd of 2022, where I interviewed Dr. Remy Davier, where he talks about alcohol in the brain, where one drink a day may be associated with brain shrinkage.
Even though we don't really have a causal effect identified, we have strong suspicion, let's put it like that, you will have to drink 2 small glasses every day of the week to reach the level where we find that there is some negative association. However, when you go above this, so you start drinking 3 units or 4 units, 4 small glasses every day, because the effect is exponential, that's where we start seeing really strong magnitude in terms of the association. And that's when I would be more worried.
I would also like to mention the 5 things that the MIND diet asks us to limit: red meat, butter and margarine, cheese, pastries and sweets, fried or fast food. Now, as those who have listened to my podcast know, I understand these recommendations. I myself am not limiting my cheese. It's just a personal decision that I'm willing to make. I do, however, think that things like sweets, fried food, and fast food are something that I can consciously choose not to eat or limit. Everyone's going to be different, but these are pretty good recommendations. I also want to end by saying it isn't just the foods that you eat, but there's growing evidence that the timing of when you eat or when you aren't eating matters as well. And for those of you that have heard of intermittent fasting or are interested in it, I would direct you to the podcast that I did with Dr. Mark Mattson on intermittent fasting and its effects on the brain. Now, this is October 8th of 2020.
Intermittent fasting is an eating pattern in which the individual frequently goes for extended periods of time with no energy intake, periods of time that are sufficient to deplete liver energy stores, which is glucose, and then switch to using fats and the ketones derived from the fats in your fat cells. So the typical American eating pattern is 3 meals a day plus an evening snack in many cases. And with that eating pattern, there's not any time interval between meals sufficient to cause this metabolic switch from glucose to fats and ketones.
Again, all of these episodes and references are going to be in the show notes. But I do encourage you to think about the foods you eat, how much you eat, and when you eat. These are very important factors to our overall health, but certainly also our quality of life. And so I hope you have a great May, and I hope you further your understanding of the MIND diet and the things that you take in. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Dementia Matters. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Or tell your smart speaker to play the Dementia Matters podcast. Please rate us on your favorite podcast app. It helps other people find our show and lets us know how we're doing. Dementia Matters is brought to you by the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Disease Research Center at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. It receives funding from private, university, state, and national sources, including a grant from the National Institutes on Aging for Alzheimer's Disease Research Centers. This episode of Dementia Matters was produced by Amy Lambright Murphy and Caitlin Rowerding. Our musical jingle is Cases to Rest by Blue Dot Sessions. To learn more about the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, check out our website at adrc.wisc.edu. That's adrc.wisc.edu. And follow us on Facebook and Twitter. If you have any questions or comments, please email us at dementiamatters@medicine.wisc.edu. Thanks for listening.